Huell Howser Day in the city of Los Angeles. There is nobody in the world, there was nobody like him. He is truly an angel and is from the city of angels, and he's with the angels. It's so special to have you here at this great building, the Griffith Observatory, and this great park, Griffith Park, where Huell Howser had to hike that hill when he worked for KCET, and he complained that it was a little tough hike. But he never complained since then because he went everywhere in the state to bring California to us. A big hand to the memory of Huell Howser. So at this time, I would like to introduce to you one of the greatest of all municipal employees in the whole wide world. He's not only responsible for this great Griffith Observatory, he is responsible for the universe, the great Dr. Edward C. Krupp.
Thank you, Councilmember LaBonge, and it's no mistake that you are the cosmic council member of the city of Los Angeles. And thank you, everyone, for making a pilgrimage on this crisp and golden California day to remember Huell Howser. Last December 21st, Griffith Observatory stayed up late to demonstrate it really wasn't the end of the world. It's not the end of the world today either, but it kind of feels like it without Huell. Huell celebrated a lot of California, and this event in his honor could have been held at any of those remarkable places that he so enthusiastically showcased on television. Like, for example, Mono Lake. But Mono Lake is even colder than here, so I'm actually glad we're here and honored to welcome you. Because Griffith Observatory is a place for public gathering and shared contact with the cosmos, it's an appropriate spot to salute Huell and commend his spirit beyond that golden western horizon. He did 3 shows on the observatory. He did the first one really a couple of decades ago, and that was when I first met him. He did another show on the observatory shortly before we closed in 2002, closing for that nearly 5-year renovation and expansion. And after we reopened, he came back again and showed everyone how Griffith Observatory had returned to the owners, the people of Los Angeles, which of course is all of you. And in that third show, he opened the program on the front lawn with the words, "We're standing in front of an honest-to-goodness Los Angeles icon, the world-renowned Griffith Observatory," and then acknowledged we stood here 5 years ago when the observatory was closing for renovation, and then he accelerated to light speed as we toured the whole building. Well, Huell moved constantly, but that doesn't mean he took any shortcuts. He was in the storytelling business, and he not only recognized what is important and fundamental, he spent time on it, and he provided essential background and delivered authenticity and detail when he immersed you into a place. Huell's style was personal and distinctive, and it often actually invited affectionate parody, but I can confirm that his enthusiasms were genuine. Quite a few years ago, I was booked overnight at the rustic Joshua Tree Inn. Just happened to be for something independent, a talk in Joshua Tree. And I was walking to my room, I suddenly heard a familiar voice yell out my name, and when I turned to look, Huell was racing down the diving board and flying into the pool, and as he emerged from the water, he said, "Isn't this place terrific?" He wasn't doing a television show, he just knew what he liked, and he was out there for the weekend. Well, Huell was not a public official, but he was a tireless promoter of this state, this city, and this observatory. And he was not a travel professional, but he knew the attractions of California better than anyone. And he was not a celebrity, but everybody knew him, and more important, liked him. It was incredibly easy to work with him. He asked questions, and they were always the right questions. He did all of his homework, and he knew what his audiences would want to know. So please forgive me for reminding you of the obvious. I am the city astronomer, and I know a star when I see one. Huell Howser was, in fact, first magnitude. And I think all of us count ourselves lucky to have seen Huell Howser come along and mine all that California gold. Thank you very much.
I love that, Ed. Another hand for Ed Krupp there. Good job, Mr. Astronomer. It was 2001 when we stood on these steps, and I was so thankful that the great Huell Howser swore me in to be a council member for this district. And the one thing I forgot to bring is a Bible. And so what did Huell do? He found someone in the audience that had a Bible, and I got sworn in. God love Huell. A great friend of Los Angeles is the great congressional representative, Janice Hahn. To read the congressional record, a great friend of all of us who knew Huell as well, please welcome Anne Marie Johnson.
Hello, everyone. We are so lucky to live in Los Angeles on a beautiful day like today, and we were so lucky to have Mr. Howser share these wonderful thoughts and introduce. I'm an LA native, second generation, but he introduced me to areas and people and restaurants and parks that I had no idea. So this is truly coming from the heart of all of us. And I'll tell you one thing, Tom, when you term out in a few years, you will be the next Huell Howser. You should be the next. Don't you think so? The Honorable Janice Hahn shared these thoughts on the floor of the California House of Representatives. Congress, excuse me, yes. See? Mr. Speaker, last week California lost one of its most beloved individuals, Huell Howser. Huell was known to so many Californians as the friendly host of California's Gold. Huell's Southern accent made it clear that he wasn't a native of California, but he was born in Tennessee and lived in Los Angeles and moved to Los Angeles in 1981 to become a reporter for KCBS. He fell in love with his new home and created his own television show dedicated to the life in California. The premise was simple. He, a cameraman, a handheld microphone, traveled across the state, visiting everyone from national parks to little-known mom-and-pop shops in search of California stories, and he found them. His folksy charm was disarming, and his impromptu interviews were lighthearted and friendly. He talked to nearly everyone he met and found the most incredible stories, ranging from tragic and touching to obscure and wonderful. But regardless of where he was visiting, his genuine enthusiasm stole the show. He was known for his gee whiz demeanor and being completely fascinated with everything he stumbled upon, often exclaiming, "That's amazing." The LA Times once called him magnificently unslick. Many Californians have mastered their own impression of him with love, of course. He was a personal friend, and I will always have fond memories of our Thanksgivings together at my brother Jim's home in San Pedro. I will never forget listening to Huell and my mother Ramona share stories of Nashville, where she attended high school. Since his passing, there has been an outpouring of tributes from his fans across the state who remember him for his optimism and sincerity. He is truly irreplaceable, and those were the thoughts shared by the Honorable Janice Hahn. We all love and miss you, and we're so lucky to be here.
Anne Marie, thank you. What got this building built and many things built were partnerships. What keeps us in the tune with Huell Howser's work over the years since 1986 was the partnership that he and KCET forged. I just want to give a shout out to Ann Guerin right here from the Parsons Foundation since 1986, a major contributor to the great California Gold and Huell Howser. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you, Wendy. Wendy Guerin, President. Now it's my honor to introduce to you the great man who runs KCET. He ran it down on Sunset Boulevard, but he had to go over the hill. But he's okay with me because he still keeps California Gold on the air. Please welcome Al Jerome.
Thank you, Tom, for this wonderful, wonderful gathering. Huell Howser wanted no tributes. He wanted no special programs when he passed. As a matter of fact, he wrote us a notarized letter telling us that. But you can't stop water. He wanted his work to stand on its own merits, and you can understand that. The problem was that Huell was a very, very private man. And those of us who knew him well and had worked with him knew him through his work. And the work and the man were really inseparable. While he was so private, he was remarkably self-confident and completely at ease, standing in front of people with a camera going, and he just could create something like nobody else. Getting excited about their everyday stories and their homes and their jobs and their families, and most of all, perhaps, their food. All food, with the sole exception of menudo, which he would not eat. We all liked him. I mean, all of us liked him because he liked people. He liked people like us. And we liked him because he loved California, as so many of us do. We could identify with Huell because he made it look so simple. Secretly, we all felt we could do the same thing that Huell did. It couldn't be that complicated. And that's why there are so many wonderful imitations over the years of people that just want to do it like Huell did. They're actually hysterical. I wish we had them all on camera. But this is the point I wanted to make. Huell was uniquely professional. In my whole career, which is very long, I can honestly say that I have never seen a more professional person in front of a camera. And I want to tell you I just want to tell you one story, which is very different in tone than what most of you remember about Huell's stories. Because to me, when I had to introduce him to, in the times that I had introduced him when he would give a public speech, I always told this story. And it involved a show that I bet many of you don't remember called The Bench. Do you remember The Bench? Huell once took me out to lunch and said, "I've got a great idea for a new show." I said, "What's that?" He says, "Well, Louie and I are going to park by a bench. Every town has a bench." That was it. That was I said, "Well, what happens?" He says, "Well, people are going to come. They're going to be around the bench, and we'll just see what they have to say." I said, "Okay, let's do a pilot." So we did a pilot, and the pilot was at Echo Park Lake. I'm dyslexic. And he's standing there, and there's nobody there, and along walks a woman, and Huell sticks the mic in front of her face, and he starts talking to her, and she spoke no English, and he spoke no Spanish. So, okay. He says, "Well, that kind of thing happens in L.A." So, you see where the mood of the show is going. He looks up and he sees on a hillside, shaded hillside, a man in an undershirt sitting, reading something. So Huell bounds up there, this big hulk of a guy, and he starts, laying goodness on him. And this guy's not talking. This guy's not talking. And Huell, and this is why it was so professional. He immediately sees that this was a guy in crisis. And so he brought his tone down, and he started asking him, "What's going on?" And the guy said, "How would you feel if you were 55 and you had 3 kids and you were out of work and you couldn't find enough money to feed your family?" Whoa. I mean, that is a hard thing to do. He talked to the guy, and he got the guy starting to talk, and the guy started to become more animated, and then Huell gave him a little dose of "it's going to be better," and he brought it back to reality, and then he went on and met with somebody else. That to me, 1 in a million can do that while the camera's rolling and not have to edit. I'm always asked, I've been asked actually